Good day, class. You're welcome to today's study session in ENG 113, Elements of English Grammar. I am Ayodeji, Adedara. At the end of this study session, you should be able to do the following. 1. Define the grammar and its divisions. Define grammar and its divisions. Number 2, you should be able to identify the units in the grammatical hierarchy of English. Number 3, you should be able to define the units in the grammatical hierarchy. Number 4, you should be able to recognize these units as they occur in context. Now, what is grammar? Now, we're all very familiar with that word grammar. Sometimes when we hear somebody speaking in a certain way, we tell the person your grammar is too much. Well, grammar actually means much more than that. And in fact, it's a lot simpler. Grammar, for the purpose of this course, this study session, is the totality of the rules guiding the formation of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences in a language. It is the totality of the rules guiding the formation of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences in a language. Now, what are the divisions of grammar? When we talk about grammar, there are actually two parts to it. Okay, there is a part called morphology and a part called syntax. So there are two basic parts to grammar. Morphology and syntax. Now, with morphology, we're dealing with the grammar of the word. We're dealing with the grammar of the word. So simply put, morphology is the study of word grammar. Now, if you take a word like sings, and I would take a word like plane. If you look at these words, you may assume that you just have one word. Of course, this is one word. But in reality, when you look at what makes it up, what makes up each word here, right, you can talk about two parts for each of them. So for sings, we have sing, and then the plural, the S here that forms the plural of the word. So that gives you sings, all right, sings. Then if you take the word playing, there are two parts to it. We have play and ing. Now, if you look at it closely, for sings, this part cannot stand on its own. The S here can't stand on its own. But sing can stand on its own. Then for playing, ing cannot stand on its own, while play can stand on its own. So this brings us to what is called the morpheme. That is what we actually deal with in morphology. That is word grammar. So it is morphology that helps us to identify the parts of a word. So for this word, things, we have two parts. The part with the S-I-N-G, which can stand on its own, and the part with the S, which can actually stand on its own. And then for playing, we have play, which can stand on its own, and the ing part, which cannot stand on its own. Okay. So we move on to syntax. Now, syntax has to do with sentence grammar. Now, words combine to form phrases, combine to form clauses, and then combine to form sentences. So in syntax, we're dealing with sentence grammar. Sentence grammar. That is, how do we know that a group of words have actually been put together properly to make sense in a language? So syntax is the part of grammar that deals with sentence grammar. Now, what are the units in the grammatical hierarchy of English? At this point, some of them will already be obvious because I've been talking about a word like things having two parts, the S-I-N-G part and the S part, okay? So here now we have two already identified, but we're going to list them from the first to the fifth. There are actually 5 of them. So the first element or unit in the grammatical hierarchy is the morpheme, followed by the word, followed by the phrase. You may also call it the group. And that is also followed by the clause before you have the sentence. So there are actually 5 units in the grammatical hierarchy of English: the morpheme, the word, the phrase, the clause, and the sentence. Take note that the phrase can also be called the group. Now, what is the morpheme? So the morpheme is the smallest indivisible unit of meaning in the grammar of a language. It is the smallest indivisible units of meaning in the grammar of a language. Now, the word things, actually, this is a verb, okay, in the singular form. Any verb that takes an S is actually in the singular form. Now, the S here is a morpheme, and it adds some kind of meaning to things. Without that S, okay, this one will mean something else because it cannot agree with certain subjects. For instance, I can say, we sing every day. We sing every day. That would be correct. But I cannot say we sing every day. But if I change the subject and it becomes he, the subject of the sentence becomes he, then it changes to he sings every day. So it is this S here that gives us that extra bit of meaning. It adds it to that word, the original word that we have here. So this is what you call a morpheme. Now, the same thing with playing, right? There is a way in which, when we're going to use this verb play, right? We can only use it in the form that ends with the Y. But there is also another context in which we must use it with the ing. For instance, if I say, we play every day. And take note of this, when you're writing every day, it's 2 words, okay, except you're using it as an adjective, because I see a lot of people make that mistake. Now, we play every day. But if we say we are playing now, right? The grammar of the language automatically tells me, okay, that I cannot use play here. So I have to add this element, okay, of meaning, the smallest, indivisible unit. So once I add it, then I have formed a correct sentence in English. So obviously, the morpheme is the smallest indivisible unit of meaning in a language, in this case, English. And then when we move on from the morpheme, we go to the level of the word, all right? So a word is a unit in the grammatical hierarchy which contains at least 2 morphemes, okay? At least 2 morphemes, of which one part can actually stand on its own. So in this case, things is a word. Playing is also a word, all right? So, but it is not possible for us to describe ing as a word. It is only a morpheme. It is not possible for us to describe this one as a word, the S here as a word. It is just a morpheme. Then we move on to the level of the phrase. The phrase is a combination of words, right, that make up a particular part of speech or word class. For instance, if I say, in the morning, now I have 3 words here, in the morning. Now, this makes up what we call a prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase. So, all of these words together tell us about time. Okay? Time. All right? Now, if I take at the salon, this is describing a place to us. So, that's another prepositional group. Now, or phrase. Then, if I take the man's car, I'm sure you agree with me that that is describing something, the name of something, identifying an object. So this is what you call a noun phrase. So the morpheme, right, combines, right, at least 2 morphemes combine to make up a word, and then at least 2 words combine to make up a phrase. Then the clause is the next element in the grammatical hierarchy of English. The clause is a group of words without with a finite verb. It is a group of words with a finite verb. That is, anytime you have what you can describe as a clause, there must be a finite verb in it. Now, how do you identify what a finite verb is? A finite verb is any verb in the present or past tense form. So if I take the verb sing, the present tense form is sing, and as well sings. Those 2 are in the present. Now, if I take the past tense of sing is sang, right? So that's the past tense. So you must have something like that in a clause for it to qualify, in any expression for it to qualify. So here is an example. So let's assume we have taken this from a sentence. I know the man who stole the car. So who stole the car is a clause just because it has this. But it does not express a complete sense on its own. All right? So in that case, we say this is a clause because it contains a finite verb. If I give another example, while they were walking home, while they were walking home. Now, if you hear this, you know it doesn't make sense on its own, right? It will occur as part of another sentence, all right, as part of a full sentence. So here, the verb, the finite verb is were, which is also in the past tense form, okay? So for you to identify a clause, you must have a present tense or a past tense verb in it. Now, we'll quickly move on to the sentence. The sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought and has a subject and a predicate, all right? So if I add anything to this one now to express, you know, where the context came from, while they were walking home. I saw them while they were walking home. I saw them while they were walking home. That will be a full sentence, okay? This one is only a part of it. And if I say I saw them, that is also a full sentence because it expresses a complete thought. So a sentence will contain morphemes, words, phrases, and it can be a clause on its own or contain clauses, all right? So those are the units in the grammatical hierarchy of English: the morpheme, the word, the phrase, the clause, and the sentence. So in this lecture, in this study session, we have defined grammar and identified its divisions. We have also looked at the elements in the grammatical hierarchy of English. So having said that, I would like to pose a few questions for us to attend to as part of the assessment. So what is grammar and what are its divisions? Then number 2, list the units in the grammatical hierarchy of English. Number 3, define each of those units in the grammatical hierarchy of English. Thank you very much.